My part will be quite brief because, as you know, we have such a rich agenda, limited time, a lot of speakers and a lot of panelists and interactive showcase, which is upcoming. So straight to the point, probably you will think that this slide is about natural resource management. This slide is about time management. We have all spectrum of global risk. We have limited time, limited skill set. Here you have three bright cases of IKEA, of Dow Chemical, and of Stella McCartney. What really unites them actually brings us backwards towards the speech of Oksana and her presentation. We really need to align with scientific community. We really need to outsource certain things. We don't have that time and leverage on the essential skills from the scientific communities. All these three beautiful initiatives, they were able to get the result that they acquired through this insightful collaboration to get into this holistic outcomes that we all want to. Briefly, IKEA was collaborating with the Natural Step. As you know, they have designed conditions for sustainability, which are quite straightforward, but which actually deserve a very consistent and gradual long-term transition. Definitely nature-based solutions and Dow Chemical is a fantastic case because we're talking about ecosystem services, but we don't really see practical business cases who actually dared to dive into this innovative tool. So only by collaboration through Nature Conservancy, they were able to incorporate wetlands as part of their stakeholders and scaled up around 100 sites across the globe and literally incorporated nature into their sustainability strategy. Of course, some of you know Stella McCartney and her deep dive into circularity, and probably you also know that actually she was able to push the whole industry and keep pushing it. It wouldn't be possible without her connections with scientific community and Ellen MacArthur Foundation, where she has beautiful alliances and fruitful collaboration among many different years. So here we can move towards this slide. I'm curious to see your translations. What does it tell to you? How would you translate this graph of planetary 9 boundaries that we're all aware of into business settings? I would say that all these tipping points, and as you know, 4 boundaries have been crossed. It is an alarming red flag. We cannot focus on purely compliance. We need to transition towards good, bold design of strategies. We need to participate and reinforce corporate cultures, which should be upgraded, upskilled, and modified as soon as possible. We're not only violating future their needs, their rights, we're actually violating current generations, their needs and their rights. So good news, we know what has to be done. We can move towards the next slide. We're not gonna stay along with all these frameworks. I know that some of you are actually working with them, embracing them, but good news for all of us, we're capable of designing action plans. We know exactly what needs to be done and how we can do it. Basically, only the goodwill and actually top-down approach and incorporated ESG into the boardroom with a specific transition towards corporate culture is a must-have. And here we can move towards the next slide. As we were saying, we will be going back and forth to the Global Risk Report 2025. Of course, it speaks for itself. And as you can see, natural resource management, business and biodiversity, and all nature-related topics, they are of the top priorities. And here I would like to emphasize that from my perspective, business and biodiversity is the next milestone and emergent trend for us, as much as we're speaking about climate change. And as you know, it goes hand in hand with business and biodiversity. The next milestone will be actually talking about them. And rather than being a part and in hands of one specialist, my approach, I think it should be integrated all across the organization. As Audrey was saying, every person is a stakeholder and everyone has certain I would say, words and role to play. And if it's going to be this integral approach, we can actually move faster in terms of our progress for business and biodiversity. And here we can actually move towards the next slide. When you see a slide like this, it is in a way scary. Some people will share with me that there's nothing that could be done. Some of you know that it is a system thinking mapping. And actually, I would say that to unlock all the opportunities and options for the future, we would need to acquire the skill set because, yes, it is painful. Yes, it requires time and patience, but only through this approach, we can move from trends towards patterns, from patterns towards structures, and from structures towards actually the deepest level of change. And actually, as you know, as some of you know, the only transformative change that could be acquired is the deepest level of mindset. Yes, this kind of journey is painful and it requires professionals, but it also unlocks a lot of opportunities where businesses can adopt system thinking to gain competitive advantage, to improve risk resilience, and to move from short-term gain towards a long-term perspective. And by this, we eventually move towards the next slide, which will speak about education. There are many evolving trends, and every single time we're coming back and forth to AI, to digital transformation. Annual sustainability reports, they're about to go into oblivion, and we also should consider interactive, real context, real-time dashboards that can actually give us context of today and specific progress that we're making. And we actually get into a deeper dive, speaking of AI transformation, quite soon with the next speaker. We also can see that definitely we're moving from our linear approach to sustainable curriculum integration. Also, probably you have mentioned that such aspects as mental health and well-being focus, they're becoming really important for materiality assessment. And we have all the other spectrum of things evolve in 2025, which eventually bring us back to real context, to practical solutions, to additional lines, speaking of youth and demand from the side of academia for more transparency and actually addressing such aspects as greenwashing and greenhashing, so we can actually move towards a more radical transparency, which is in high demand. And here we're moving to pre-final slide, which also speaks about challenges. As usual, not enough of money, not enough of skills, limited time, certain inertia, mental health stigma, and all spectrum of other things, limited awareness, limited engagement. Well, all of these things in a basket, it is the primary job of sustainability leaders, ESG professionals, social entrepreneurship innovators. So definitely we need to address all these challenges, and the next slide will showcase some of the ways how they could be addressed. And I'm sure you can also share with me your perspective here. We have a lot of answers. But one way or another, I would like to emphasize that AI for ethical decision-making education would be probably the most important part. And of course, circular economy models and actually putting ESG into the DNA of our strategies and reinforcing unique corporate cultures would be a great way forward here. However, I would like to know your point of view and which opportunities do you see here? Thank you.
Thank you, Yulia. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. But as always, I have a question for you. As a GIA Sustainability Director, are there any programs or initiatives you would particularly recommend for us to explore?
Yes, of course. We at GIA, we have global programs with a wide spectrum of topics, including social entrepreneurship and women empowerment. Of course, there is a group of transformative skill set training programs for corporates and for businesses. I would say the most important and the core competency, which is at the DNA of Global Impact Alliance, its uniqueness and its connection to social entrepreneurship and our work with vulnerable communities. So as we discussed today, S is more and more pressing and basically getting momentum. If it is the case for you, definitely Global Impact Alliance would be the right spot for you. And coming back to what have been previously shared, of course, I would push for business and biodiversity programs all across the organization, but also all spectrum of system thinking, exercises and activities and initiatives. And of course, it is important to just stay connected, be a part of efficient network of ESG specialists and sustainability champions. And most importantly, which kind of bridges us to the next speaker, it sounds like a stereotype, but definitely AI, its transition, its innovation, its connection to ESG, unique and innovative dashboards, a real context assessment basically is our next step, which brings us to Diana.